Hey everyone, you're watching Ash on Comics. My name is Ash. Here's today's comic, Electric Warriors #2. Meet Earth's champion, Deep Dweller. Let's get on with the show. Hey, if you remember the last review, or if you're reading this comic yourself, you understand basically that this far future, there's a united system of planets, blah, 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 blah. The war's been made obsolete. They now have gladiators representing each planet or empire, and they fight each other rather than armies to settle disputes. The main character is Oscar Navarro, who's been selected as Earth's champion, but Earth, hundreds of years prior, had done something that allowed animals to develop human-level intelligence. So the planet now has humans and animals running around. Animals run around as a collective. Humans are separate. It's sort of like Planet of the Apes-ish, where they've taken over and subjugated humanity, and only very recently have humanity come from under that subjugation, kind of like the whole civil rights movement. But things are very rocky still between the two. Earth is the first planet to have 2 electric warriors. That's the name of the gladiators, and it has to do with this electric seed that every planet or empire has, blah, blah, blah. You can read the books yourself. Anyways, so here we are. We're now at the place. The first issue kind of covered everything I just told you. And Oscar is not actually Oscar. It's his brother. That's the plot twist of the first issue, because his brother was this really good guy, and Oscar... Damn it, I hate getting phone calls in the middle of recording. All right, where was I? Oscar's not really Oscar, a.k.a. Warcry. He's his brother, whose name I forget because he keeps going by Oscar. Oscar's the good brother. Heart of gold, blah, blah, blah. He's selected as champion of Earth. The brother is this kind of miscreant, loser guy, but still loves his brother and decides that going off to be a gladiator is a death sentence. Everyone just goes there and dies. He can't see his brother do it. It's not worth it for him, so he sneaks in and pretends to be his brother. Another plot twist of the story is that he wears the Shroud of Kal-El, aka Superman's cape. It's indestructible. It was a gift given to him by Earth when he was selected champion. And I thought that was kind of a neat touch to tie into the whole superhero continuity. In this far future, there are no superheroes other than these electric warriors. And surprise, also at the end of the first issue, surprise plot twist is Firestorm is still alive. And he sort of runs everything. I don't know much. They've only hinted at his role. So this book covers different electric warriors from different planets. It's introducing them. Presumably, if the first cover has like 6 different electric warriors, whatever, presumably they're going to unite somehow. This book feels like it's all about putting them together. And it just has little vignettes of the characters, so you get to kind of know them. I enjoyed this. I like where this book is going, honestly. I enjoyed the first book a lot. It felt like a really cool sci-fi story. It didn't feel like... One of my complaints was like, this kind of book, it doesn't need to be a DC comic. It just could be like an Image book. It could be anything. It's sci-fi. And that's not a knock on it. But I buy DC Comics because I want that shared continuity. I want that multiverse. I want that open universe where things connect to each other and things like that. So I respected at least that this had ties to that. And Firestorm is in it. And you got the Superman cape. So that means that the DC universe more like ties into this story. I don't know what this world is, but it comes from that universe. And so what happened in the DC universe sort of matters here. And I'm finding that even more interesting. This would have worked either way, but I like that. So here we have the first match. They don't waste any time. Warcry versus Furia, the volcanic warrior of Saturn. Now, I didn't know Saturn had a race of people, but apparently they do. And they fight. And I'm gonna look at this. I have to say though, I do have a big complaint about this book. Let's see if I can flatten this and get a good focus. Look at this art. It is atrocious. This is like what I was drawing in high school. Like, I don't think I was that bad. Some of these are, the panels look better, like they're disguised between all this digital coloring and stuff, so you don't notice how bad the art. There's no background. Look at that. No background, just 2 profile shots, and it's just, ugh. And yeah, I just don't. This is not DC quality normally. This is the second fight. He loses his fight, spoiler. And then she is also fighting his partner, the animal partner from Earth, Deep Dweller. She's like octopus, anamorphic. All the animals are anamorphic, right? So she's an anamorphic octopus. Which I really don't understand how that works. I don't think it's a comic book world, but if you turned every animal into human sentience, like, I think the whole food chain, everything, biology, zoology would just be completely destroyed. We need animals feeding on each other. We need the food chain. We can't have them all of a sudden just be like all sentient human beings that apparently all eat wheat product. That's another thing that's bizarre. But whatever. This is comic world. Just suspend your disbelief and forget about it. So she's fighting, but I was just kind of like showing you the art here, and it's just like, that's just a cheap way of not drawing, just drawing a silhouette. I don't know if the video is really coming across like just how, I want to say, amateur this is. It just does not. And some panels are better. But okay, so here's an example. Here's an art Snickers ad. Look at the art in the Snickers ad. You should not have ads that just completely destroy the art of the actual comic itself. And there's just so much cheating going on here, and panel for panel, where like the artist just finds reasons not to draw something. Yeah, this, I don't understand what an editor is giving this guy. He is not. Look at that face. Look at that face. Like, oh my goodness. It is just not fit for primetime Big 2 comics. So we go to chapter 2. Hour later, the hero wakes up. I'm going to call Warcry the hero, even though he doesn't really act like much one. He does have a good heart. Obviously, he's trying to save his brother. So his one singular motive is good, even though he's kind of just an asshole. We were introduced to a scepter of the Vrang Empire. Apparently they're... No. So he's like trying to help him, and he's just being an asshole. Like, I don't need your help. Typical sort of thing. He's going to come around. You can just tell. This is pretty... Some of this stuff is kind of unoriginal, cliche, but it's still done well. Despite even the bad art, I was enjoying the narrative and getting introduced to these characters. And I don't necessarily care about unoriginality. I'm okay if you copy things, or if you do homages to things, or you just find inspiration. Just do it well. You know what I'm saying? Like, people make fun of like Avatar, for instance, for being, dances with wolves in space or whatever. But it's like, yeah, but it did it well. Like, or the other one they compare it to is that cartoon, that animated one. I forget what it's called. I'm sure you know. But I'm like, my argument is like, yeah, but it did it better. You can be unoriginal. You can copy things. Even Star Wars isn't original. It's just all about how well you do something. And you add your own thing to it too. Like Avatar ripped off a lot of ideas, but it added its own things to it as well. And this book does that too. It takes a lot of ideas that you've seen before, some certain tropes, but kind of puts its own thing into it to make it interesting. Here we have Firestorm, Lord Preceptor of the Covenant. So that's his title. And yeah, basically this whole comic, I'm not going to spoil for you. I'm just going to kind of give you some visuals to see what's in it. Yeah, the art is just meh. Just, yeah. And it's all these kind of characters coming together and being introduced to each other is really kind of the excuse of this book. Getting to know who they are. And then we have this guy who introduces himself as Orthus of the New Hive. My people were the universe's first conquerors. Like all others, we eventually fell and started anew. We were one of the first people to send an electric warrior to the Gildisfan's great compromise. Me. And I'm still here. I've lived on Covenant longer than anyone, and I did by learning, by knowledge gained from having and losing power. You two have the same potential, as Serene and Dominator, to rise above your people's sins. I offer you my hand as I once offered it to them, and my guidance. So, you can see, like, they're like, oh, coming together, and I guess this is the Professor X of the group. Well, we'll find out more. But some of them are choosing, he's still kind of wary about following someone. And so we have now Deep Dweller, his Earth partner, like trying to talk him into following him, and she heals him, and he's still has bitter, bigotry towards her because he's been subjugated as, by animals. And she heals him. And she was taught by Orthus how to do it. And he's like, holy shit, it worked. Look at this. Oh my God, look at this art. This is a panel in a DC comic. What? You should not get paid for that. Look at this. He's just like, that pose. He's just like hulking over. Like, no one stands like this. Just like, looks like he's trying to force a fart out or something. It's laughably bad at points. And then other points you're like, okay, this is okay. Anyways, he's like, oh my God, you did it. And then he finds out like it pains her. Like, what happened to you? And she's like, I have to take your pain in order to heal you. And he's like, what? So of course, and again, it's kind of cliche trope of like, oh, you're willing to hurt yourself to help me? Oh, my bigotry is being open. I'm being made aware and how wrong I've been. It's that. And I don't mean to sound like my tone of voice to make it sound like I'm bashing it. I'm admitting it's cliche, but it's done in a way that it's kind of not unexpected. There's a reason why it's cliche. There's a reason why that trope is used over and over, because it works. And it conveys a message. And it's something that gives a lesson, I guess, a life lesson, which is something the comics have always been meant to do, is teach lessons, presumably to kids reading the book. So here she's trying to just talk him into reconsidering his, following Orpheus and stuff. And at the very end, the plot twist is that in response to Warcry losing his battle, and it lost it lost their wheat reserves, their grain reserves. Now the animals have stopped trading wheat to the humans because there's a shortage. And the things like announcing, so now humans and the animals are fighting over the grain. And so there's been a challenge. Earth must face itself on the war ground. So now these two, as they've just been talking about trying to form an alliance and everything, now have to fight. Same price, different blood. And that's that comic. Here we are, Electric Warriors number 2. One thing I don't mind this cover at all. I think it's cool. I bought the alternate art cover of the first issue. And I'm just one of these people, it's like I want either all B covers or all A covers, I want them all to match. But DC does this dumb thing on the miniseries where it's like we only do an alt cover on the first issue but not the rest. So now I have B cover on issue 1 and the rest will be normal. Now, if I'd have known that, I would have just bought the A cover of number 1. And that annoys me. They did that with Adventures of Super Sons. But then they don't do it with Heroes in Crisis. So it's not like you can predict what they're doing. But there's some critiques for this book. The art is... Ugh. So at $3.99, that may hurt your decision. I believe the artist does the cover though, and so it's not like they can't do art. I just think that they can't do art quickly, so they just hack it in. Travel Foreman. Ugh. So it's a 6-issue miniseries, not a terrible investment for time. I give this a slight recommendation. I'm enjoying the story. It's fun. Actually, every month when I'm reading through my different issues, this is one of the ones I'm looking forward to reading. So that tells me something. As I'm reading it, I'm not sitting here going, wow, the writing's amazing. Like, I don't feel like the prose are sending me into some sort of trance, like it's just written. But the creativity of the story and the plot line is keeping me, it's compelling and it's keeping me interested. And I want to know more. And that's what really comics should focus on doing. And that can be difficult to do. So I will give this a single thumbs up recommendation on the caveat of the art. If you're a big art stickler, avoid this. It's a fun book. So hopefully you got something out of this review. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.